This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh, takes a hop
shank.
off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
Well, I would like to welcome a 3-time PGA Tour winner and a winner on the Champions Tour as well, Cameron Beckman, to the Sub 70 podcast. Pro, thanks so much for taking the time to do this today.
Well, Jason, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to a chat with you. It's always fun talking to you, and it's really been a pleasure getting to be friends with you. You're a great human, and I'm willing to do whatever you want to do, and I certainly will tell you and talk to you, and we can have a good chat about whatever you want.
All right. Well, it's going to be, we're going to stay to golf. If you could pass that message on to my wife every now and then, that would be helpful. Appreciate it, of the kind words. I don't know if she would agree with you all the time, but, I feel the same way. It's been a pleasure to get to know you as well and kind of work with you a little bit on the equipment side. So, we'll have some fun with this one. So, first one I got, golf pros are always working on stuff. The season's kind of fully getting started here with spring. How's the state of your game? What are you working on? What are you focusing on? Sort of where are we at?
Well, my game is actually a lot better. I really played poorly last year. I just, I don't know what the deal was. I was having trouble getting it off the tee a little bit, and, I just really couldn't get anything going all year. I think I had one top 10 and played pretty poorly the whole season. But it's interesting. I was hitting it left with the driver all year, and I did, this is going to sound kind of basic, but I went to a little stronger left hand about 3 years ago, grip-wise, and I went back to my old grip probably a month ago, and all of a sudden now I think I can play again. The ball's starting to work. I'm seeing the ball come out of the window I want with the driver with a little fade, and, all of a sudden I feel like I can play good again. So I'm looking forward to hopefully play 3 weeks in a row at least here coming up at the end of the month, and then see if I can get going again out there.
Do you have a teacher you rely on or someone that you trust when your swing isn't exactly where you want it, where you can put a set of eyes on it and say, okay, what's going on here? Or do you sort of self-diagnose and fix?
Yeah, I'm more of a self-diagnosed guy. I went into this deal where since some of my friends are retiring and it's harder to get a game these days, I've been playing by myself, which I've never done in my whole career. And I really got into just really feeling and seeing what I was doing. And that's how I came up with the grip thing. I'm like, it's just, what in my mind, what a driver, when I'm trying to hit a 10-yard cut off the tee, what it feels like just wasn't happening. And so I make the adjustment in the grip. It just dawned on me while I'm out there by myself. I play TPC of San Antonio. Nobody's on the golf course. It's a perfect way to practice. And it just all of a sudden I'm seeing the ball do what I did. I played the 2 qualifiers here, played good in both of them. Missed the first one by a shot and the second one by 2. But finally seeing some, hitting the ball good again. I was having trouble with ball striking, which has never been a problem for me in my career. And so, like I said, I'm excited to get going again.
We'll talk Champions Tour here first before we get out, to what you accomplished on the PGA Tour. But I always say the toughest tour in the world to get onto, even for the listeners, for how hard it is, right? I mean, you have a win out there in 2021, and, a lot of times people think, oh, you win, it's a 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour. Whenever you win, it's that year plus an extra 2. Out there, 1 year, and that's it after being a winner. So, would you concur that it's that hard of a tour to get out there and stay out there for the most part? It's a kind of a closed circuit out there a little bit.
Yes, for sure. It's a boys' club is what I would call it, and it's the guys that are in the Hall of Fame. It's guys that have won majors. It's career money list. It's by far the hardest tour to plan, but it's by far the best tour. I think it's so much fun. Whoever's designed it has done it perfectly. It's a retirement tour. It's 3 days generally, except for the bigger tournaments. You can take a cart. if you need to. It's a much more relaxed atmosphere. In fact, when I started playing out there, I had to actually kind of add another 15 minutes in before I played because I knew there was going to be 15 minutes of chatter, which, on the regular tour, there was none of that stuff.
Right.
But it's just a total different, it's just a fun atmosphere, but it's like we're getting all of us are getting to be buddies. I just didn't have that feel when we were playing the regular tour. And I think is what it is everybody's so just, thankful to still be playing at this age. I mean, you look at Bernhard Langer, I think he's 65 years old and he's still out there winning golf tournaments. I mean, what sport do you get to do that in, right?
Well,
so,
it's crazy how good he has been for. I thought the Hale Irwin record out there would never be touched. It's crazy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, of his excellence.
I got to Hawaii 2 years ago on Sunday morning. Luke and I were going to play. We played the course. We were there for a week, and Bernhard was working out in the gym, and I was like, wow, this is Sunday morning. We're 5 days out or 4 days out from starting, and he's working out, and I was like, it's just. And I talked to him, he's just like, I'm just trying to keep myself going, just trying to keep my body going, and that kind of tells a lot about, first of all, his work ethic, but how much he loves to play still, and that's my deal. Is I just love to play, so. To have the opportunity to even be out there doing it at this age, it's just been a blast.
So where is that mark now? Like I was looking, you're like, 3 wins. It's not like you won once, multiple tour winner, and you have almost $10 million in career earnings, and that's still not fully exempt out there. Like, where's that threshold now?
I'm not sure what the career money is to get you in. It's probably like 13 to 15 million, I would say. And
that's a lot.
That. To get in those tournaments in that way is tough. But, they've also decided it was 4 spots qualifiers on Monday. Now it's 3. So they've taken one of those spots away and given it to career money. It's closed off. I mean, I didn't get my card through school. I ended up winning in 2021 to get another year out there. But, you got to keep cranking. There's no, everybody's working on a game, and I feel like the play has gotten better since I started. So there's always guys coming in here now that are turning 50. Brian Gay just turned 50. Justin Leonard's out here now. Those guys are all exempt. So it's, you got to keep cranking there.
Yeah, and think about Brian Gay. Like, he's still competitive on the PGA Tour. He's still PGA Tour good. Like, good.
Well, Stuart Sink's going to be 50 this year. I mean, I don't know if he's coming to play the senior tour or not, but he's still out there. He's still keeping his card on the regular tour.
Zach Fisher, who plays our clubs last year, played with him. Where did he play with him? At a PGA Tour event. Zach got in. And I was talking to him afterwards. He's like, dude, I got outdriven by like 15 yards by a 49-year-old man who just whipped my ass. Just bombing it past. I go, he's that long ago? Still? And he goes, murders it. Like, just literally murders it. And the dude's like 50. He was laughing. Like, he said, I just got drummed by a 50-year-old man on tour. So, like, he's that good still.
Padre Harrington, I live here in San Antonio. He just played good this week. I don't know what he finished, but I think he finished in the top 10.
He top 10'd it?
Have a good. Well, he was up there at one point. I'm not sure what he did. I didn't see yesterday's full round, but I mean, if he can still bang it out there plenty far.
Yeah. You're talking, Gay out there, Sink if he decides to do. I mean, like I said, the new players coming out you're going to start getting some more of these modern guys who just murder it off the tee, and if their wedge game is dialed in and their putter's dialed in on the Champions Tour, look out. I mean, Stuart Sink can do well.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because a lot of the courses kind of bottle up. So, I end up hitting a lot of 3-woods off the tees and stuff like that. But, if you can, like, I think Padre, not only did he hit it far last year, but he hit it straight. If you can hit it far and straight on that tour, you're just gonna, you're gonna play well. It's just, I'm not sure. I didn't play with Padre, but he might be carrying the bottles. I don't, the areas that bottle up. I'm not sure how he was doing it, but he obviously had a great year. And I don't know if he's planning on playing the PGA Tour this year or what his deal is, but. And then you got a guy like Bernhard that's hitting it, pretty relatively short. Obviously, he's 65 years old, but he still wins the golf tournament. So it's just the whole setup is awesome. David Toms has won a couple times this year. He doesn't hit it very far off the tee. These guys can still really play golf.
100%. Yeah.
Really can still play golf.
But old DT, he can still putt it and wedge it and 9-iron and 8-iron it. Pin high all day long and give himself a ton of chances. He's still kind of sneaky long if you watch him. Like every now and then he'll bomb one out there pretty good. When I was watching him win, he's still got some horsepower.
Right. So people. I don't know. There's a lot of people that think they're just going to go out there and start running over these guys. It's not the way it goes. It's just not that easy.
Well, I was going to ask you about your win, at the Dick's Sporting Goods Open, and coming down the stretch, you had Clarkey and Els you had to beat. Like, how much fun is that you're like going up against two of the best of their generation, literally? And B, what kind of confidence do you get knowing you can beat those guys, when you're at your best and they were playing great that week and you can beat them? Like, that's be a pretty cool feeling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was. I think I actually feel like I'm better than I was when I played the tour. I hit it further. I'm in better shape. I putt better. I feel like I can still play. And so, it's a great challenge. It's just, playing against those guys that are in the Hall of Fame or, it's fun to try to beat them. And so, it's been a little bit of a bummer. Like I played Hawaii this year, so I get in the best tournament of the year because of my win. But now I haven't played for 3 weeks or whatever the last two tournament is. So, I really want to get back out there and start playing these guys. But, you got to be sharp. I mean, you got to be sharp if you're going to beat them. That's for sure. A lot of the guys, even the older guys like Gene Sowers or John Houston, or these guys are still shooting great scores. So it's. I don't know. It's just been a blast. I'm just so thankful that I, can still play and get out there and play.
Had Kelk on a podcast last week, and we always great conversation with him. Speaking of Champions Tour players, and great guy on top of it. And we talked about the potential new golf ball ruling coming out. What's your thoughts on that? And then B, do you think the Champions Tour plays the shorter ball, or would they? It's half, it's entertainment out there, and we want to see our heroes making birdies, not, looking like us. So where do you see that coming down? Like, A, overall, what do you think of the rule for everything in golf? And B, how do you think it would relate to the Champions Tour?
I don't really understand what are they trying to protect? I'm not steeped in it. I haven't read about it. I don't really understand what they're trying to do. What do you know? What's the purpose of it? Like, what's the thought?
My guess is that they feel, for lack of a better word, and this is the part where I disagree, 0.00000% of, 1% of the golfers are making some of these golf courses like Augusta or Marion or the Old Course obsolete. So they're going to have an elite ball and the normal ball, right?
Okay.
But the question would be, where does the definition, air quotes, of elite stop and start? And B, golf is, doing very well right now, and I think I'll speak for myself. Like, I don't want to see 270-yard tee shots. Shit, I can do that sometime. I want to see you guys hit it 300 yards in the air and carry a bunker that I have no chance of doing, right? Like, to me, part of golf is still, you guys are like Dean Martin on stage. You're entertaining, right? And to me, it's fun to go out to the John Deere Classic, which I've played that golf course a bunch of times, and watch you guys do things I can't possibly do, right? I can't play that good. I can't carry that. I can't wedge it to that pin. I can't do that. So I don't understand. So the idea is, they want the John Deere Classic to go down to shoot, 15 under par instead of 22 under. I don't. Then what do the manufacturers do? If you're Titleist, you're going to spend all this money on a ball that I'm not going to go buy. What do you do if you're the Champions Tour? Because Champions Tour, like you said, I don't want to see Freddie struggling. Not that Freddie would struggle, but I want to see Freddie shoot 66.
Yeah. So here's my thinking. So I'm a big golf fan. I love to watch golf. In fact, I watched my good friend Roberto Diaz play 9 holes the other day. And I watch my son play all the time. He's playing in tournaments. I love to watch golf. I like to watch the kids that he's playing with. I just like to watch golf. So when I see Rory McIlroy standing up on a tee and he's one up on I can't remember who he was playing. I guess it doesn't matter, but everybody saw the shot. And he flies it on the front edge of the green and hits it 3 feet. And he basically looks at his competitor and says, "You're done."
Yep.
I mean, why don't? That's what I want to watch. I want to watch Rory McIlroy bomb the ball on the green and do that. That to me is, I mean, how many people got out of their seats and went to Dick's or wherever and bought that driver? You know what I'm saying? They bought the new stealth driver because Rory McIlroy just hit it on the green and hit it 350 in the air. I don't understand what we're trying to do with that whole deal. And I know for sure that the tour made a decision about, I don't know, 15 years ago that they weren't going to have any rough because they wanted the big ball, the big game, the big arenas to, people want to watch that. I want to go out there and watch. I went out to this tournament this week and I want to see these kids hit it 9 miles.
Right.
And what's it look like? I wanted to see that.
I agree.
So, especially on a course I play all the time, I wanted to see where they're hitting compared to where I'm hitting. It's like, why would we pull it back? I want to watch the entertainment part of it,
Yeah, the one thing I can think of, that, and they would have the power to do it, does there just an Augusta ball and they make 3 versions? They just hire Titleist to make it or Bridgestone, whoever, and say, okay, here's a low spin, mid spin, high spin ball. For this tournament, you have to play it. And players can adapt to it or not adapt. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if it goes, because I don't know if the PGA, I don't think it'd be beneficial for the PGA Tour to do it. I can't fathom how the Champions Tour is benefit from watching Glenn Day go from 260 to 240. Exactly. So it's going to be so interesting. Then what's it lead? Do the college players play that ball, or do they have to play the tour ball then at that point? That's where it's like very weird of where the bifurcation would end. And then, for us it would be strange because then do we have to make different irons and wedges and stuff for the new ball versus the other ball for the guys who play our stuff on tour, right? And then no one else is going to buy the irons like that. It really puts the manufacturers in a bad position too, like for putting money and R&D and time into something that how many people on the planet use? 500?
Right. It costs them a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I went up to Kurt Byram's good friend Steve Sands and Zinger and Dan Dix. I went and sat in the booth and I watched how that all went down and listened, and it's pretty neat how they produce these shows. And I was talking to Zinger about it, and we were talking about what's one thing that changes the scoring? Grow some rough. Mm-hmm. If you don't want the scores to be so low, if that's the goal, I'm assuming that's what it is. Grow some rough. If you hit it in the rough, you can't hit it to the green. That's the way it was when I started the tour. I mean, you had to hit it straight. Nick Faldo, think about how big he was. He could have hit it 9 miles probably too at some point, but he hit it short because he's hitting it straight.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just, the U.S. Open, the places that have rough, the scores go down. And I'm assuming that's what we're looking for, right? We want the guys to not shoot these incredible golf scores. Is that the goal?
Ball? Yeah, like they're saying for St. Andrews, there's no more land to buy. So to eventually because they just let the rough there be. They don't. It is what it is. The weather dictates how it is. It didn't happen on the last tournament, but as soon as one of these days, someone's going to go out there and shoot a 57 because
right.
There's no more room to be had, and they're going to make a mockery. I'm just paraphrasing here of one of the greatest golf courses in the world, and they don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I got you.
So they're
just
talking
because of the history of it.
Yes,
the history of it. Okay. Yeah, I see. I mean, I get that, but still, it's these kids are. I mean, it's amazing to me. Like I went and played this Puerto Rico Open. They had the tournament put a full gym in the ladies' locker room for the kids. I went in there, I was like, what is this? It was I felt like I went into an LA Fitness. It was amazing what they're doing for these kids because they're all working out.
Yeah, they're bigger.
That's part of the thing.
Yeah.
Bigger, stronger, banging on it, You still got to putt and chip, but it's fun to watch. It doesn't make sense to me as far as for an entertainment value in my mind.
I'm with you. And I think they're not talking about, the John Deere Classic. I think they're talking about, Augusta can't keep buying. But like you said, at Augusta, if you really wanted to, there's no rough there. If you had a little bit of rough at Augusta, that'd make all the difference in the world going to those greens.
Right.
I mean, you really want to stop the greens, right? I mean, that would do it.
Make it a premium again. Like, it's not really a premium to hit fairways anymore. They just get up and stand up there and hit as far as they can off the tee.
Right.
And then they deal with it, right?
And the math proves that's the right play.
Yeah, that's what the analytics say, is that even on par fives, they'll try to push it up there as close as they can to the green.
Yes.
Even and just try to get it in the right spot closest that'll give them a decent chip. They figure, over 4 days they're going to make more birdies from closer, which that obviously makes sense too. But if they didn't, the problem is they can hit it in the rough. Like, I watched them do it on 18 this week. You can hit it in the rough and still go for the green.
Right. Where I bet you when you got on tour, that was not the case. You were laying that thing out.
No. I remember playing the Texas Open at La Cantera the first year there. If you hit it in the rough, you had to pitch out. You could not advance it at all.
Yeah.
So, that changes the scores real quick. And I think it helps people that actually drive it better, too. The straight drivers that maybe don't hit it as far. It kind of brings the field, brings them in. So,
yeah,
that's my thing.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand. I like the entertainment value of it. I really do. Live Golf's not going to use that new ball. I mean, that would make no sense for them. They're trying to have, I actually watched that tournament yesterday. It was pretty entertaining. Watching.
Who ended up winning that?
Brooks won
that tournament?
Brooks won, and I have to admit, I was kind of intrigued by the whole team thing because it was close at the end. Yeah, I mean, it's done at Crooked Cap. You guys used to have tour school, so the golf course isn't the greatest thing in the world. But, it's entertaining. They were bombing it. They want those guys to hit it long off the tee, and there wasn't much rough, and they let them, bang it. But pretty good at the last 3 or 4 holes were pretty tight. It was fun to watch.
What's been interesting to me is, nobody's covering it. They don't cover, they'll go through the LPGA, the Corn Ferry Tour, but they don't tell you what happened. I didn't even know who won that tournament. I haven't seen it on TV anywhere, so it's
well, that's understandable if you're the Golf Channel, because you have an association with all the PGA Tour products, so you're probably not going to promote the live stuff. But it was kind of fun to watch, right? It really was. I'm not, I'm a golf fan. I don't blame the players going to live for the fact that, he just made $4.2 million yesterday for winning at Crooked Cat. Okay. I mean, I can't blame Brooks on that one. He's got a wife and probably will have a family.
It is a business, but most of the people that complain about it have already made millions of dollars, and it's no big deal. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business, and everybody's trying to support their families and do what's best for them. And because this game, you never know. Like Bryson DeChambeau, for instance, is a good example to me. Is why did he go? He was kind of cranking. He was the man. That's all we talked about was Bryson DeChambeau. And I don't know for sure, this is speculation, but he must have hurt his wrist enough where he didn't think he could do it anymore. So he went ahead and went that direction. You know what I mean?
Or here's $100 million on top of what you can win each week.
Well, that's obviously true too. But I mean, he was on his way on the PGA Tour. He just won the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of the guy, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? How many times, every time I turn down the TV, they're showing how far he just hit a drive.
Well, I think it's either one or two things. It's either exactly what you're saying, that deep down he knows he's not ever going to be the same player again. There's something wrong. Or I'm just going to take the money. I don't think he doesn't come from money. So do you just set your family up for the rest of your life? And I realize that once again, I'm an entertainer. I've got some time to get in the majors still. But if I don't play in majors, I'm going to wind up at 50 years old with $250 million in the bank. Because he's probably not going to be playing real well in his 40s, swinging that hard, as you probably know. So he's going to be more like a normal pro athlete, 38, 39, body's going to break down, and too many injuries to play at the level. But at that point, he's going to have a couple $100 million, and then you just go spend time with your wife and your kids and do something else, right? Because you've accomplished everything. You got a major, you got all the money, you got the accolades. I would be okay with that.
Sure. I mean, Abraham Answer's a good friend of mine. He lives here in San Antonio, and when I heard what he did, first thing I did was call him and congratulate him. I mean, he grew up, he didn't grow up rich. He's worked his way up. He's got a tequila company. He's got a clothing company. I mean, I couldn't be happier for the guy. First of all, he's a beautiful human being, but I mean, how can you fault him? I don't understand faulting these kids for doing this stuff. I mean, it's life-changing money.
Yeah, I always think like people say that until one day if they really offered you $53 million and said, here's a contract, and your lawyer looks it over and goes, it's legit. And you think to yourself, I'm one wrist injury away from being Luke Donald where I'm irrelevant on tour. One major surgery. Right?
Yeah.
And then
you don't know what's going to happen.
If you look at your wife, and if you had small kids and you say, this money will take care of our family for a couple generations easily. And I'm one, in the back of your mind, I'm one injury away from never being the same. God, how do you not take the cash and just say, I'm going to take care of my family and stuff? And critics can say what they want. I'm doing this. I'm sorry, I'm just doing it.
Yeah. So they've made a lot of changes on the tour because of the benefit of the guys that are playing out there too.
Well, that's
they're playing for a lot more money.
Right. Do you
Mickelson,
think? Well, I mean, yeah. Is Phil now?
Mickelson, he got a lot of flack, didn't he? But he was right. I mean, they made a ton. They upped the purses. They're giving these kids $500,000, I think, to start, and they've done some changes that have helped the tour.
100%. I was talking to Kelk about this, and I asked him straight up, like, do you think Phil got his reputation back a little bit? Because looking back, he was right. And he goes, I do. I do. Because all of a sudden now these guys who are 74th on the money list are going to be making twice the amount of money they would have. And the big guys are going to be making twice the amount. And I don't think any of this stuff happens without Phil lighting the bomb off at first.
Yeah. They had to start competing with some other tour to keep some of their guys, So, it's they're obviously, what have they got? These, not totally steeped in what they're doing, but it seems to me they got these bigger purse events or like 8 or 9 tournaments that have these huge purses.
With no cuts. With no cuts. As there shouldn't be cuts.
Where did that come from?
Well, that
didn't just come out of the blue. That's because they have competition, right?
And
so
yes, and I always said this, right? Like on those events, like because they were ripping on Liv, and I'm not like massively pro Liv. I'm friends with the players, and I'm happy for my friends that are the players, right? From this on both sides, if their PGA Tour or the Korn Ferry Tour purses went up, right? All of that is beneficial from having competition. But I never understood at these. They were really mad at first that Liv doesn't have a cut. On these elevated events, there shouldn't be a cut because, like, my dad had to work Monday through Friday, and I was a golf nut as a kid. Like, and if I wanted to, I was talking to Kelk about this. Like, I loved Kelk when I was a kid, right? Like, just hitting hard fades and just
who didn't, right?
Yeah, right. Like, just lashing at it hard and firing at everything. And he had this sort of great demeanor of no fear. And if he's on, he's on. If he's off, he's still firing at everything. Well, it would have been like when I was it was great, right? Like he was a great player of his generation. I loved Kelk. I would have been. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember I got to meet him. I got an autograph from him. But my dad had to take me out to the was the Hardee's back then on a Saturday. Well, that would have sucked if I couldn't have seen Kelk as a kid, right?
That's
From
a
the
good
cut
point.
thing.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't care where he was at in the tournament. I wanted to watch Mark Kelkovecchia, pound some power fades out there and and try to get an autograph from him afterwards. I get why I don't understand. Yeah, having no cut on this stuff to me makes all the sense in the world for Liv and for these top elevated events because those events have such marquee players in both tours, Liv or the the fields are about the same size. The fans should be able to go see Phil, or they should be able to see Rory, even if Rory is not having his best stuff that week.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. I would argue that Kelk was one of the first guys that's kind of playing like the kids do now. He was kind of the first L wedge guy.
Yep.
And he was trying to get it as close to that green as much as he could and chip,
1,000%.
But
yeah.
He wasn't doing the old lay up to your numbers on the par five and try to play that way. He was banging in there and getting it as far off the tee and getting as close to the green as he could. And then he had that unbelievable wedge game.
Correct. 100%. He would pound it as far as he could, then pound it as far as he could, and he was such a great wedge player and putter. He could get it up and down from 38 yards from anywhere. It didn't care.
Yep.
And also, he was ahead of his time too on hitting. I talked to him when he first got on, tour. He hit a draw, and it just wasn't working. And him and Peter Kostis worked on hitting a low spin fade with a super low lofted driver, hitting up on it with the old equipment. And that's when he became great. That he said I could basically eliminate the left side of a golf course and swing as hard as I could, and it wouldn't go left.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, I found it. Like, I was long and straight and played one ball flight basically. Like, he could hook it if he had to. But for the most part, he just hit hard power fades with everything. And
he's
that's
cutting it all the time.
And that's kind of a modern way to play. He was ahead of his time. And he's a big, strong guy, who could really move.
Right.
So it's kind of more of a modern player. Even in that era, he kind of knew, like, I'm just going to, go after everything. And he would have some bad weeks, but then next week, he would go out and go nuts low again. No fear.
Yeah.
And that's how these kids play now. So he was, you're exactly right. He really was kind of a modern player in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, for sure. Plus, he's such a beautiful human. I love him to death. It's always a pleasure being around him.
Isn't he the best? He's such a good dude.
He's great.
Yeah.
Great guy.
It's been neat for me to get friendly, be friends with one of my heroes growing up. Like,
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. It's, he couldn't have been nicer to me over the years. And, we built him some equipment. He was my first guest on the podcast. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and we've done it like 3 times now. And he's just, and I'll text him, outside of stuff. And him and Brenda are like really good people. I like them a lot.
Oh yeah. They're great.
Well, I was going to ask you on your pathway to the PGA Tour, like you old schooled it. It was mini tours. It was grinding it up. And, what was that process like? And my other question is, like, where do you find the internal tenacity and self-belief and fortitude just to keep after it? Because you didn't get out there at 20 or 21 or 22 years old. Like, where do you find that inner strength?
Well, it was interesting because I was a good athlete growing up. I wanted to play in the NHL. I can remember myself laying around in bed at night, imagining myself playing in the NHL. I grew up in Minnesota, so we played hockey all the time. But my mom was a teacher, and she was a really good player, and so I'd play golf in the summer with her when she didn't have to, she wasn't working in the summers. And then I played them both. When I was growing up, I played soccer also. We played all the sports. But I don't remember what year it would have been. I was 17 years old. So what is that, 87? I qualified for the junior amateur, the U.S. junior amateur, and I had a blast. I did the USGA thing, and I thought, you know what? I think I want to play golf. So then I ended up, because I was there, the coach at Texas Lutheran College in Seguin, Texas, a little bitty NAIA school, called and said, do you want to come play? And so I went down on a visit. I loved the guys. I loved the atmosphere in San Antonio, the area. Just loved everything about it. So I went there and went to play golf. And I was pretty much up until then going to play hockey. I just switched just like that. And then I got to play all year round for 4 or 5 years and kind of got good quick and won a bunch of tournaments. In 91, I won the NAIA individual event, tournament, national tournament, and turned pro and won mini tour events right away. So I just got going, but it took me 6 years to get my card. And there was plenty of times where I would talk to my dad, and he's like, well, do you think you should stop? He's like, don't stop. I'm like, well, but I'm there, I'm here, I'm there. He's like, let's just keep going. Well, I'd win the next tournament. Or anytime I ever thought about stopping playing, something good would happen. So I just kept cranking and grinding, and I love golf. I still love it. Like I said, I watch my kid. I can't wait to go watch him play. I don't even need to play. I like to watch, or I'm out here every day playing. And I just grinded it out, and I was fortunate. I got my card 3 years in a row through the tour school from 99, 2000, and 2001. I went to when we had to play 6 rounders.
Yeah, that's pressure.
And Yeah, that was that's one thing I wish is they still had that tournament. That was like the greatest. I used to watch that tournament. Remember they had that on the Golf Channel?
Oh, it's the greatest tournament in the world to watch. The last day.
Yes,
It's better than a
took
major.
away the best Yes, it was the best tournament to watch. I'd watch it even when, I mean, I was obviously happy it wasn't there, but I loved to watch it.
1,000%.
And then in 2001, I won a tournament, and then I just kind of got going out there. But yeah, like I just wanted to play the tour so bad. Like it was, I don't know. I wanted to do it for a living so badly, and I worked my ass off. I mean, I really worked at it, but I loved it. Wasn't work.
Yeah,
I couldn't wait to get. Yeah, I couldn't wait. Man, I still can't. Like, we're going to go out there this afternoon. I can't wait to get out there, and I'm 53 years old. So that, I don't know that everybody loves it. If you really love it, it's not work. So that's all I did. I just really, really spent a lot of time with it. And my wife was so supportive. Never had me, just nobody ever told me I couldn't do it. My parents were always there for me. There was never anybody said, no, you can't do this. So I just kept doing it. And that's how I got out there.
Was she with you when you were not? Did you know her before you made it on tour and went on tour?
Yeah, we met in college.
Okay.
So she's from San Antonio, and so that's why I've always lived in San Antonio. We live close to her family, and it's been great.
When you got on the tour, was there ever a moment where you stepped on the driving range and you're like, holy shit, that is X next to me, or Y, or my God, what am I doing here? Or was it like, all right, yeah, I'm ready to do this? Or was there a air quotes tour moment where you're like, you even had to stop and look, where it's like, that's a legend right there?
Well, I played in Tiger Woods' time. So I started in 99, and he was to 97-ish when he started, 98, something like that.
96.
He was pretty young.
96 was his first tour. Yeah.
So, from then until my last kind of 2013, 14 is when I kind of was done being exempt. But, that's what he was playing. So I got to watch all that. I was there for all that. He was the guy that played with him 5 times. I got to see all that. But, like even today, so if I go to a tournament, I've got to know, I'm good friends with all these guys, not good friends, but I'm friends with everybody that I was watching. I'd go to the Texas Open in college, and all these guys I'm playing with now were playing in the tournament, so, yeah, it's pretty normal for me now, but at one point it was pretty damn neat. And Freddie Couples was always, my guy growing up, and he's been really good to me and helped me a bunch through the years. And like you said, getting to meet Calc for you as a hero, and I've gotten to be friends with Freddie C, and it's he was my guy when I was in college, and so it's normal now. But yes, of course, back then it was very intimidating, and sometimes hard to play with him. But my first event, I played with Tom Watson in Hawaii on Saturday. Just little things like that. But it was just such a treat getting to do all that.
So when you're playing with Tom Watson, like, you're still a professional, you've earned your way out there. Do you have to stop and say, I'm not watching him play because I'm out here competing as well, or every now and then you look over and like, damn, that's Tom Watson. Like, God, his golf swing still looks good, right? Like, is it hard to like put the blinders on where it's like, no, I'm out here to shoot a score and I'm out here to kick his ass, or do you go, God, that was a good shot from Tom Watson, right? Like,
well, that day, I was trying to beat him. So like that day, I think we tied. We both shot 3 under, I think 4 under, something like that in Hawaii, but. Just to learn, I'm kind of an observant guy, so I like to watch. Like, I watch everybody play. Like, just really observe what people are doing and try to learn from people. And that's the only reason I really, I came from, I told you my story. I mean, I wasn't the prodigy growing up playing golf and stuff, so I had to learn a ton of stuff and how to play. And so I would watch, I watched him all day and was like, okay. And even so I played with Bernhardt a bunch so far on the senior tour, and I'm watching like a hawk. I'm looking to see what he's doing, how he's doing it. So it's not so much that I'm like intimidated. It's more I'm trying to learn as much as I can every time I play with these guys, and I still do. I love it. It's like I said, I love to watch golf. I watch it all the time. I'm not a big sports fan. I only pretty much do sport. I only really watch golf on TV. So it's, I love watching these kids play.
Well, I was going to talk to you too on the 3 wins, which is impressive because one guys of your level can win. To back it up with 2 more, there's a different level of respect that comes with that. When you win the first one, is it relief? Is it pure joy? And then does it get easier or harder to get the other ones once you get that first one notched out?
Let's see. I think I won my second one in 2000 and I already forgot, 8 or 9. And the first one was in 01. Well, I don't know how much time we have, but the story is that I was
take your time.
I was sitting in my hot tub at home with my wife, and I said, and I was 150 on the money list, I think, and I said, what do you think? Should I start looking for something else to do, or what do you think? She's like, nah. She goes, just finish out the season. You can do this. Well, I win the next tournament. So it's like every time I thought about not playing or got to a point, like I said, something happened. And then I won in 2010 really quick. So that gave me a bunch of years to, because I was 40 years old when I turned 40 the week before, and Jennifer threw a big party for me in Las Vegas, and it was at the Mayakoba. And so here's what my thinking was, and you'll kind of laugh at this, but okay, I'm 40 years old. Let's try to play like we're mature instead of acting like a kid out here, So I just had even my caddies like, I've never seen you that calm, and you just played really nice. But what's interesting is I played with Calc the first 2 days that week at Mayakoba, so that might have helped me because playing with him. But and then getting this Champions Tour win was really cool. That to me was probably my favorite one of them all, just because being, I guess I was 51 at the time.
Long time between them. Yeah, to have that happen up there.
I really want to win another one, so I've been really working my ass off to try to get going again here. So we'll see how it goes.
Does it get easier though with the experience, knowing you can do it, and you've done it?
The problem is that it's hard as shit to win. I mean, somebody's always got, somebody's playing good. Sometimes it almost feels like it's your week or it's meant to be. Sometimes like some of these, you can kind of feel it coming on, like, okay, I could kind of tell I was going to win those tournaments, so to speak. But the toughest thing is to get in position the last 9 holes. That, to me, has always been tough. And that's what is impressive to me is the best players in the world, like you watch these like Scheffler and McIlroy, they're always there.
Yeah.
You look at they're there. They're always there.
They've got a chance, right? They put themselves in that position.
Yeah, that's what's so cool to me is that they get in the zone all the time. Like Tiger Woods, are you kidding me? He was always in the zone. Now, he didn't win every time. He won a bunch, obviously, but it's just impressive. That's how good these guys are. They're just so good. It's amazing to me.
Well, talking about good things, I mentioned to our head professional here at Sub 70, Kevin Healy, that I was going to have you on the podcast, and he goes, I like that guy's golf swing a lot. And so I watched it again. No, he did. He's like, I love that, and I watched it, yesterday when we were going to do this podcast, and there is a lot to like in your golf swing. And I'm not just saying this because you're on here, but it is very, very effortless power, a lot of body rotation, not much hand action. It looks like it's going to hit a little cut. It's really good, Cameron. Like the technique.
What year?
What year? I'm guessing this video was maybe 6-7 years ago. Something there.
Okay.
You
I probably swing better now, but I actually, my golf swing is kind of like, nobody's looking at my swing on Instagram. I can assure you that.
There's a lot of good to learn from it. And my question is, did it change over the years? Because what I liked about even just the video I saw is there's not a lot of relying on hands. It looks passive, and it's very rotational, but it's effortless power. You know, it really is sort of the modern golf swing where, you know, it's not kind of way up and then, you know, like a better word, a Ben Crenshaw sort of motion where there was, or even Tom Watson, where, you know, where there was a lot of timing and hands, and it looks like it just gets in the slot and you just turn as hard as you can and boom. So did that swing take a while to fully develop, or was that always your natural golf swing? Because there really is a lot to like, especially with the modern equipment of how you swing the golf club.
Yeah, so interesting story. I actually had a teacher when I was in ninth grade tell my dad that he couldn't help me anymore because I had too much of a hockey swing. So one thing that I've always taken pride on is that I'm not a big mechanical player. So, like, I always felt like somebody would ask me how you're hitting, and I'd go, well, it doesn't really matter because I could get it around. Like, I take pride in being able to get it around no matter how. I was all about shooting scores, right? So that was my deal. And so, like, when I have a year like last year where I couldn't get it around, that really pisses me off because how hard is it? I do it every day. I should be able to get it around and still shoot good golf scores, even when I'm not on, you know, totally on. But I spent most of my time on my mental game. And so a lot of visualization, I played it. So Freddie taught me, he's like, visualize, you know, a lot of visual stuff, a lot of thinking of shots I've hit before. And, you know, not so much, didn't have to have a perfect golf swing to make it happen, right? So, but my swing is, I've always been able to hit it solid and hit it straight. And even though to me, it's kind of, my son gives me crap about it all the time, but he's got this beautiful swing that he's created for himself. But, you know, it looks good on Instagram and he hits it good as can be. But my swing is, you know, I just more, I like my swing and that I know how to handle it or what to do with it. How's that sound?
Yeah, and even though you say you're not, you know, mechanical, there's not much to go wrong with the motion I was looking at. Like I said, because it doesn't take a lot of timing, it looks like a golf swing you could kind of just, and you know, if you're listening to this podcast, go check out Cameron's swing because there really is a lot to learn from it. The club is very neutral. There's not a lot of hand action and a lot of body rotation and a lot of horsepower in that swing, which looks effortless, but you can see the power that's in it. So even though you don't think mechanical, boy, there's a lot of good mechanics going on in there, you know, to be as good as you were for as long as you were. Like, it's a very good, I kind of call it a modern golf swing, right? Of how I'd want to swing a golf club, of less hands, more rotation, you know, squarer, longer through the zone, right? I don't want my hands to flip or feel like I have to manipulate anything. Like, you've done a really good job of making that swing very neutral. Just allow you to turn and let it happen.
Yeah, that was, you know, I had some teachers through the years. Well, I don't know if you remember this, you probably will, but remember Curtis Strange and that type of deal? Well, at one point the theory was, well, we're going to take the hands out of it. We're going to use the big muscles. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that, and then I just got I could really, for some reason, even Scott Hoke told this to my agent one time. We had the same age, and he's like, I've never played with somebody that plays with so much trust. And so I did a lot of exercises where I would basically, rather than working on my swing at home, I was working on how much could I trust every single shot, and then I'd take that right out into the tournaments, you know. So I was doing stuff like that rather than, you know, really getting mechanical. A lot of these guys are mechanical and you know, we're thinking that their golf swings are this and that. But I went to and did other stuff, kind of like what I think, you know, Freddie's swing's been the same.
Yeah.
You know, he hits it so good, right?
Yeah.
Well, he has more belief in what he's got than he leads on to. You know, he has to.
Yeah.
Like, he just knows how good he is, even though, you know, he would never say it or whatever, but he knows his golf swing, he knows what to do and how to operate it so well. And so that was always my goal, was to really, and it's even like my kid, like I've got it instilled in that he has to, I haven't taught him a thing about his golf swing. He's built it himself. He can handle his own golf swing and plays the game with, it's not about golf swing, it's about hitting it at the target. So, and that's just what I got good at. Like I would just get over a ball, like a wedge, for instance, and all I'm thinking about is the flag, and I'm trying to make it. You know, there was no, you know, I could getting really good at hitting irons a certain distance, or I don't know. To me, the more you make a golf swing that's trying to hit a 9-iron 145 yards instead of 150, or you see, focusing on that type of stuff. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, and also you got your swing to a point where you can, like Freddie, where you can get to that, right? Because it was mechanically sound enough, even though you're not working on mechanics, that you can sort of go to the next level where you trust the golf swing. You're just out there to play golf and hit golf shots without overthinking it.
Right.
And if we can, as golfers, that's all of our utopia where we try to get to, right? Where you just see target, visualize it, and execute. You know, it's hard to get there, but if you're there, it's a pretty sweet spot to be at. And with your golf swing as good as it is technically, and like I said, I would encourage people to go watch it. You'll see, if you know golf swing, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a pretty good spot to have.
Well, that's nice of you to say, but you look at a guy like Scotty Scheffler, for instance, and it's so cool now that we can see the shape on the balls and you can see what the ball's doing in the air on TV. He's just out there hitting it both ways. He's really, I mean, I think he's predominantly hitting a cut off the tee, but you can see that he's got so much command of the ball. Where's the ball starting? That's the whole key too, is work on start lines. Like, can you start the ball there and have it twirl into whatever you're trying to do with it? Like Scotty Scheffler right now, to me, looks like he's hitting it both ways.
Yeah, and there's not much
command.
thinking. Yes, there's not much thinking. It's just see shot you want to hit. I mean, off the tee, unless it's a 3-wood, he basically hits a cut. And if I was his coach, I would tell him I would never hook a tee shot unless he absolutely had to, or play the 3-wood at that point. I love his motion off the tee. I was talking to Kelk about this. It's a modern version of Kelk. Swings even harder. The foot slips out of the way. The whole thing, just like he did. It just hits a hard.
I'll tell you.
Hard fade.
I'll tell you a funny story. So Kurt Byram was watching him at balls, and Randy Smith, who's a buddy of mine, also who's a beautiful human. Also, Kurt says to me, he says, "So what are you guys working on?" And he says, Randy quickly looks at him and he goes, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Well, what are you working on?" He goes, "Are you not watching this kid hit the ball? Why would we be working on anything?"
No.
That's what he said to Kurt. He goes, "Are you not watching this? He hasn't missed a shot."
Yeah.
It's just, that I love that mentality, So
then the swing coach becomes almost just a mental coach, right? Or like Butch always gets the best out of people, where it's like confident. Look at Ricky once he went back to Butch, right? They didn't work on that swing that much. It's got to be that Butch gave him the confidence back, right? And that's
so I'll tell you, sir. I went to Butch in 2001, early in the 2001, and he looked at me and he said, "Why aren't you winning golf tournaments?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well," he goes, "You should be winning tournaments." Well, what do you think that did for me? Mm-hmm. He's like the best mental coach there is. Jimmy Walker called me one day and he goes, "Do you think I should go to Butch Harmon?" I'm like, "Of course." Yeah. Go. Well, he turned Jimmy. Jimmy ends up winning majors, does a bunch of stuff for Jimmy too, but his swing didn't switch that much, change that much.
No, it's a tweak here and there, maybe, and a kick in the ass. I think he's very good at giving somebody a hug when they need it or a kick in the ass when they need it, and he makes them believe in themselves.
Yeah, we shortened up my swing a little, made it a little wider so I could get through it better, but that was it. And
exactly.
Next thing you know, I'm kissing the trophy at my first event. So it's mental. These guys are so good. It's just, even like I'm watching these kids play this week a little bit, you can just see it's so mental out there, because they're all good. They're all great players. It's just whether or not what you can do mentally, what you believe.
Well, Randy Smith just saying, we're not even telling Scotty that, like, we're not going to work on anything. Just do what you're doing. Visualize the shot and hit it. And if that coming from Randy Smith and your coach for that long, if I had a coach that basically said, "I'm not touching this, just go play golf," man.
Yeah.
Would that be an encouraging I mean, talk about a confidence builder, huh? Then I just go, see golf shot, hit golf shot. Well,
I think
that's
the
utopia.
kids get cluttered up. They get cluttered up in their heads over like sometimes I think the worst thing you've heard this before. They're trying to get better, right? Well, they end up getting worse because they go down these avenues and people are telling them to do this and that to get better. When I don't know, I don't think we needed to do all that, So
no.
You got to be careful with the trying to get better. They're all good enough right now.
Exactly.
All of them.
Yeah, Ricky Fowler didn't need to get better. He just needed either a hug or a kick in the ass and somebody to say, "This looks great." We tweaked this a little bit. We tweaked this a little bit, but that's it. Go play golf. You got this.
Yeah, very small stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's so good to see too. Because here's another guy that's a beauty queen. He's just a beautiful guy. It's so good to see. I love when the good guys are playing well. I just love watching that.
Yeah, it's the best coaches can do that. Got a few other just quick hitters here for you, and then
sure.
We'll let you get to the golf course. But I had to ask you, the coolest thing you ever bought after a win for like your family or yourself?
Oh, boy, I bought a lot of stuff. I probably bought too much stuff. I was into cars. I bought everybody. I bought a zillion Rolexes. I gave a bunch of those away. But they were, they weren't terribly expensive back then, the ones I was giving away. But I was into the cars. I had to have the Aston Martin. And so I didn't grow up with any money. So we were always, and this is probably, I probably shouldn't tell you this story, but, we always are driving beaters, and I hung around with rich kids because, I don't know, but, I was always embarrassed about cars. So, I had to have a bunch of cars.
Is there one that stood out? Is there one like, all right, that was the apex of the ones I drove?
Well, the Aston Martin was cool. I always thought the twin turbo in Porsche was probably the coolest, because it was 4-wheel drive and it just hugged the road, and I loved driving that car. But, then the private jet stuff was a big deal too. That flying private, we had to have a share of Citation Shares was doing the deal back then. So we were all of us, a bunch of guys on tour had that. So we were always flying private. I always thought that was that's probably the coolest thing that I ever did, is getting to fly private jets all the time. That was fun.
Was it worth it from a time-saving standpoint?
Oh, yeah. It was, for sure. The beautiful thing was we get to the tournaments, they have the tournament cars sitting there, so you get out of the plane and you're right. And then I know they're doing it now. All these kids are flying private, but, you jump out of the plane and your car is right there. You throw your stuff in the trunk and you go to the hotel. You can't beat it. It was the best. And
then go home and see the family quickly afterwards and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, it just made travel so much easier. So much easier.
Well, I think that's a good answer. Rolex watches, Aston Martins, and private jets. I dig it.
But then, of course, I had to, doing all the private jet stuff, I had to get my pilot's license. So then I bought 2 Cirruses in my life. I flew myself all over the country for 4 years also, which was probably the highlight. I love doing that too. So that was probably overspent some money through the years, but what can you do? I had a blast.
Favorite 2 or 3 golf courses you've had to play, not tour course, like any course that you've gotten to play anywhere around the world, and what makes them great architecturally?
So I never got an invite to the Masters. My wings never, for some reason, were off kilt, and I never played the Masters. So that's one thing that's kind of sucks in the whole program for me. But then I did play. I got one of my roommates in college was the assistant pro at Pine Valley for a while, so I got to play there. That golf course was unbelievable. Of course, the day we went, they had just punched the greens, but still, that to me, that golf course was different than anything I'd ever played. So I would definitely say that one. And then, Pebble Beach is always a pleasure. Spyglass, I love Spyglass.
Cypress, do you put up there? What do you take, Cypress or
I
Pebble?
haven't. You know what? I haven't played Cypress.
You've never played Cypress?
Invited to play. Never played Cypress yet.
Oh,
Maybe I'll try to do it sometime.
It's so cool. It's so good.
It's the spot.
Yeah, it's just...
I will tell you,
It's pretty
I
awesome.
will tell you, we got Boot Ranch in Fredericksburg, Texas is a neat spot, too. Have you heard of that?
I have not. No.
Yeah, Hal Sutton built that in 2008. It's just an amazing place. You know, it's kind of, I haven't done a lot of golf at courses outside of the tour courses, you know, but around the country. But Pine Valley is definitely the best I've ever played, I would say. Have you been to Pine Valley?
I have not played Pine Valley. No, that one is on the list. I haven't done it. Everyone who's played it says it's just incredible, right, of how good it is architecturally. It's just every hole you just stand there and go, oh my goodness, this is so nice. And then, you know, I grew up in Minnesota. Those golf courses are nice up there, you know. Oh, there's some
a lot
good
of
ones.
Good courses in Minnesota.
I did Town and Country last year, which was so cool because it's so old, right? It's just old architecture. And Minneapolis Golf Club, they just redid it and brought it back kind of in the more historic lines. Fantastic. There's some really good golf up in the Minneapolis area.
Oh yeah, I just played Minneapolis. In fact, I just played with Rocco and my son. We played this summer up at Minneapolis Golf Club. It's a beautiful place.
It's great, wasn't it? Aren't the green complexes? It's great. I played Hazeltine. They had it. It's really hard. I don't know if I'd want to play there every day. You know, it beat the rough was up, and you know the way the greens are perched up, like. I could play it, but man, that's a tough golf course. They kind of have that set up like you could have a major tomorrow out there.
Yeah, that's a little different though. That's not like the old school courses in the trees. You know?
No, that's a big boy. Better hit it high in the air and carry it. And I prefer more Golden Age architecture. Like I get more geeked out on Town and Country and Minneapolis Golf Club and those kind of places, right? Where Interlochen
old ones.
Yeah, they're the best. You know, in my opinion, I enjoy that style of golf more.
So
best golf shot you ever hit under pressure?
Let's see. Well, I always harp on my kid. I say, can you 3-putt from 30, or can you 2-putt from 30 feet to win a golf tournament? Because that's kind of a big deal, right? So when I 2-putted the Dicks, 2-putting the Dicks was a big deal. I mean, I just got it up there, to tap in. It's hard to 2-putt. So I practice it all the time. In fact, a good tip for your listeners is I spend most of my time putting from 40 to 50 to 60 feet. And so I make my kid do it too, and he's a great putter, but I make more putts today than I ever have, and I only practice long ones. In fact, I don't even need to go to a putting green and make any putts. Like it's the weirdest thing, and I'm not sure how I got onto it, but my putting is way better than it's ever been, and my speed. So, if I can handle a 60-footer, like I harp on my son, like let's say you're 500 par for the day, and you got a 60-footer. It's a big deal if you can get that up there to tap in, because it takes all the stress off your round, right? Probably just that 2-putt that I had, because I could have made some serious mistakes there. I'm nervous as can be. I could have messed that up, and I take such pride in that part of the game, that the speed, like I'm a big speed guy. Like I watch these kids putt. The speed, like where's the speed? Everybody's banging them around. That's not like the art of putting. I don't know if you've noticed, but the putting, where's Ben Crenshaw's? Where's the
they hit them harder now. It's not kind of dying in on all sides of the cup. They bang them pretty good.
Yeah, it looks mechanical. Like there's no I'm trying to think of who's the purest putter on tour right now. Even Luke said it to me. He goes, these guys aren't great.
Cam Smith.
Yeah, Cam Smith. There you go.
But that's an old school kind of. That looks more Faxon to me.
Yeah. It's like these kids spend so much time on their big games that they don't really, and then they take the mechanical part, right? And, all this aim point stuff. To be honest with you, I watch these kids and they're standing all over their lines and all this aim point, it takes forever. It's driving me crazy because it's just so not feeling, they don't even read the putts. They just do the aim point. These junior kids. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Does that drive you nuts when they're standing all over their lines and stuff like that?
As a golf fan watching it, yes, I understand the potential. I think DJ, for example, has putted better with that system with him and AJ using it. Because DJ was never a great putter, and he's turned himself into a very good putter with it.
Right. Isn't it amazing that the best players in the world aren't very good putters? Colin Morikawa, a good putter?
At times, streaky.
Yeah.
Streaky
It's just
at
like
best.
the,
DJ's got
who's
himself
the
good,
two?
though. Koepka putts it pretty
Yeah.
good. He
But
putted
if they
really
putted-
good yesterday.
Like, to me, if Dustin Johnson was a good putter, he wouldn't lose. Remember some of those years where he just absolutely missed everything and still would win? I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, it shows how good his ball striking is. But yeah, I mean, his
I
golf
know.
swing got better. His golf game got better when he started hitting more fades and worked on his wedge game more. And then when they've started using aim point and AJ helping him with the aim point, you can see he went from. I mean, he's a good putter. He's on the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
He's gotten himself. He was adequate. Let me see. He's adequate. He's got himself pretty damn good with that system. Yes, it's mechanical. It's not free flowing like a Cam Smith stroke. I think Cam Smith probably reads greens really well naturally too, right? To let that stroke just sort of go. But DJ, those guys have, you got to give them credit on tour where they were, that's not their strongest suit, and they figured out how to be pretty damn good, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think for those guys, Adam Scotts of the world or Schwartzel, who aren't naturally great putters. I think some of those systems have helped. It's boring as shit to watch from a consumer standpoint, but I get why they're doing it.
I'd say now that I think about it, who's a great putter is Scheffler. He's fun to watch putt.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of. He's freewheeling everything right now, right? Where it's naturally really, really good.
He's got a beautiful. Well, I like Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay putt's nice. I think just a nice natural look about it.
Yeah, the best putters still have that natural flow of the stroke, right? Where there's a little bit of door closure to it. It's not as locked in and square to square. I mean, those guys can make that work, but there's something just beautiful about watching like a Cam Smith stroke, where he just it opens, it shuts, he hits his line, he knows the line, and the damn putt goes in.
Speed.
Yeah.
Like I love putting. I'm a big guy. Putt all the time. I putt in the house for hours. I'm really into putting, but. JT Poston I love watching him putt.
Yeah, he putts it really
but
good.
He's in there kind of funny. He doesn't have he's like, I'm making this, and they go in. I love that. I just love that.
Don't you agree, though, it's a very free-looking stroke? He has no hold on. It releases. It's not a lot of mechanics on that one.
Yep. You can tell the guys that are good putters that figure it out themselves. Verplank was always a great putter, and he was. I guarantee he didn't get any lessons from anybody, or Willie Wood, or the guys that can really roll it. Like they figure it out. They putt all the time. They figure out how to make putts. I love that. Love watching that.
Yeah, when in his heyday, man, could Scott Verplank putt. Whew.
So could Kelk. Kelk was a good putter.
Kelk was. He'd admit though when he was on. He was also get streaky. He was when he was on. Look out! Yeah, but I would say overall he was a very good putter in his in that 10-year run he had. You're not that good and win 13, 14 times in that stretch he had without being able to roll his rock pretty damn well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really good putter. Final one I got for you here.
Go ahead.
You play the tour for all these years. What's like a town or a tournament that gets overlooked where it's like this city, is actually really, really cool, and then maybe the average, golf fan or somebody going to visit that city wouldn't think that the city has that kind of soul and character and fun. Like, is there one or two towns that kind of stand out from the Champions Tour or PGA Tour where it's like, you know what, I didn't think this city would be this much fun and the tournament this much fun, and it's a great spot to visit?
Well, Hilton Head, obviously, but I think everybody knows about that one. But kind of, I always like going to like Davenport, Flint, the food. Like I always was looking for good food, like a lot of good spots to eat at the John Deere.
Yeah, great restaurants in the Quad Cities out there, and great people.
Yeah, really good food there, great people. Flint is another one I enjoy going to. But I kind of like the smaller town feels more like I'm at home, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Trying to think, where else do we enjoy? Well, now my new favorite is Newport Beach. Are you kidding me? That place is unbelievable. That whole town, that's just a beautiful place to be. The Texas Open, I think a lot of guys like coming to San Antonio for the Mexican food, the margaritas and stuff like that. A lot of people know about that.
Great
too.
culture in San Antonio for the food and culture,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think, now they're staying out here at this hotel, our new TPC place. Well, it's not new anymore, but it's just an awesome facility. Trying to think where else. Well, I always like going to Mississippi, too, because we were always eating cool places there, too. Great people. That was a real family-oriented feeling, like the whole town was into the tournament. Those are the ones that are cool, or maybe the town really wants you there,
Well, yeah, that's like our hometown tournament of the John Deere, right? Like, we grew up going out there, and still today, like that whole community is just so excited to have you guys out there to play. It's such, that you get.
That's the feel you're looking for, right? And so any of those types of tournaments, but it's cool when you go to all these different places. Like I know what restaurants I'm going to. I know what I want to do there. It almost becomes like you're so familiar with the area that you have your certain things and places you eat and things like that every week that you look forward to. It's pretty cool.
Well, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate your time on it. Great
course.
Conversation, and yeah, man. Like I said, this was definitely a good conversation to have, and I thought it would be. So, thanks for taking the time today, Pro.
Of course. I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet.